Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Marcus here, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for you. Tonight I got a special message I want to bring to you. I think I brought this message, a similar message, maybe about 30 years ago. At that time I called it the devil's trap, called prosperity. And today I want to talk on the subject matter is how the rich and the elite hijack, abuses, exploits the people. I think that's a very interesting subject. You know, for those of you who have listened to me, you know I talk about good stuff. I talk about stuff that I know what I'm talking about. I talk about God. And you probably think I'm going to end up talking about God here, and I'm not saying that I'm not, but I want to tell you about the church and the influence on churches. I grew up in the South, you know, as you've heard me say that, going to church all the time. And when I grew up, got out of school, got to be somebody, moved to Chicago, you know, got a nice, I guess, a pretty nice job in Chicago. And so my wife and I, we had to find a church. We were new in town. And we found, I guess, well, we didn't become a member. We just visited churches. And then one day, I think one of her friends invited her to a particular church, and we decided to go. Now I'm kind of getting that a little backed up. I'm getting that a little backed up. So we had been going to general churches. And we were getting ready to make the decision of choosing a church. And we discussed that maybe we should stay around small churches. We knew people and how people operate, even churches. So we're thinking stay around a small church and maybe we'll be closer to people dealing with the truth of life as opposed to a big church. And so that was basically what we were doing. But this particular day, her friend had invited her to come to another church, a bigger church. And so we went. We just went. And I saw it was a bigger church. I'm thinking, oh, well. But they had a nursery. You can bring your kid. We had a little kid. We need a kid in the nursery so they can go through whatever they go through Sunday mornings. But then I went up in the sanctuary. And ladies and gentlemen, it was laid out. Red carpet all down the aisles, cushions on the pews, a choir over here, a choir over here, an organist and another choir over there, and another choir over here, and I'm walking in, and it reminded me of when I wanted to be in Hollywood. And I'm thinking, wow. But I mean, this was just the way it looked. Man, when the services started and these people started singing and doing their thing, I'm telling you, it was out of this world. Now I'm thinking, I wanted to go to a smaller church because I think and thought I'd be closer to the truth. But this is overwhelming. We got to start going here. So we decided to go to church there. Participated in tithes and offerings. We did that for quite a few years. But then later on in life, I'm living in another state, and now my position is to lift up God. I'm lifting up God now, but I'm doing it on faith. I'm not asking you to give me any support to build a building. I'm just traveling across the country, seeing people wherever the opportunity presents itself to tell them about the glory and wonders of God. And you know I can do it because I've been talking to you. And here I am out there doing stuff free. So I happened to go through so many states, but I'm back in Illinois, Chicago. And so I need a little cash for some gas, you know. So naturally, I'm going to go back to the church that I used to frequent and pay tithes. Do you know I couldn't get $10 for gas? I mean, the fact that I tithe and stuff like that, well, you know, I don't know. I guess maybe they thought I was scamming. So I couldn't get that $10, but it brought me to an awakening. Some people might say I woke up. But that was just one thing. I just wanted to mention that to you, ladies and gentlemen, because that church will mess you up just like anything else. And I want to say to you, Every last one of you. I talk about us. Do you hear what I said? I said I talk about us. Because for the most part, we've gone through some of the same things. And then different groups have gone through the same things that they individually, as a group, collectively as a group, gone through. Not what these guys gone through, but they have gone through some things that no one else went through. And here we are in a situation of life that we were born into all that wherever we live was about. We were indoctrinated from the day we were receptive to anything outside of the mother's womb. What it had to do with religion, what it had to do with politics, what it had to do with just general living, everything, family. We didn't know anything. And you can bet your last money we saw and we observed and it meant something to us. That's our life. It was a long time before then that people made a determination that it was okay to be a crook. It was okay. Why? Because they profited from it. They got away with it. It was okay to steal. It was okay to lie. Because people who wouldn't lie trusted them. Trusted that they wouldn't lie. Trusted that they would be fair. You know what people be saying about politicians. They say certain things you don't have to write down because it just makes sense. It's automatic. People got that kind of sense. But if you didn't, you got people who take advantage of that. And then we spent a whole dead blasted life with people going crazy because nobody got any sense of directions. And everybody trying to have their way. And everybody trying to get support to back it up. And you get the kind of support from dying on the line to killing. Because there are those who want you to kill to make sure that they can have their way, promising you a little peace. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. I took a few notes because I want to qualify one of them, what I was just saying. Trump is a tool of the rich. He's a tool of the elite. He is for sale and he is bought. And he's bought to do the will of those that he wished that he could be a part of. He'll do anything that he possibly can for the rich and the elite, especially if the quid pro quo is wonderful. I'm saying that, and I said what I said, because it represents to live here on earth is to live as if we were in heaven. Look at it. Wait a minute. Think about it. What if somebody knocked on your door and told you that here you got a free house? Well, look at it. Somebody have put you on an earth, free earth. That's yours. And everything that the earth is about has been given to human beings to use what human beings choose to use it for. Goodness gracious. Look what a blessing. But you don't know that. Why? Because somebody stole it. You didn't come here. You never seen that happening. The oil belonged to somebody. The land belongs to somebody. You got to buy a spot, rent a house, lease a house. You think you're doing something, you can buy a house. You got to go to the store to get the food. You got to beg somebody for a job. You got to hustle to try to get you some kind of education to make sure you qualify with some amount of knowledge necessary to put you ahead of trying to move on. And pray to God that you don't get sick. I mean, this is what it is to live here on earth. But you know what? Those that remember and they have knowledge, they won't identify with what goes on in the world. In fact, what they do will establish what's supposed to be done right here on earth as if we were in heaven. and will resist all else. Now, what am I saying to you? I hope you've been listening to me. I told you about that church structure. And I told you about the system that we live on. I didn't tell you nothing new. Just reminded us so we can be on the same page. But here we are now. We're talking about this God. Let me see if I can interject something to you. Growing up again in the South, we had different messages. This thing about God was special, especially when Dr. King lived, because Dr. King took the word of God and for some strange reason gave it life, gave it wonderful life. You know, the kind of life that says you are somebody, that you got to stand up for a right, that all men are equal. There's no difference in some color or some color. No. Dr. King gave it some life, and then he made it real, so real that he was willing to die, knowing it was going to be killed before change came, and accepted it. Giving an example of what it means to have a relationship with God. Now, there were a lot of men out there with Dr. King, and some of them were killed, the MAGA Evers, others that we might not even know of, but happened just the same. But just think about the ones that we do know, the ones that walked out there with Dr. King, who professed to have this all dynamic spirit that was generating in one, that's generating through them all, and trying to give that touch to us. But then there was no Dr. King. For some strange reason, it seems like you start getting a little organization, got a little money, got us a little office in the corner. Come over here, we're going to help you. We're going to talk about this. We're going to give you a paintbrush and some paint and give you a chance to study. You're doing something now. So now we're putting up a statue for Dr. King. Now, what am I saying to you, ladies and gentlemen? I'm saying there's a difference. And why am I saying it? Because just like I was sitting up in that church giving tithes and offering, thinking that I had some kind of relationship. I knew it wasn't that much, but I had some kind of relationship. There are people all over this country doing the same thing. There are people who so tired up with God, they over there loving Donald Trump, a liar, a thief, a bigot, a hater, a racist, and they up there loving him, talking about God sent him here to save them. So they can have the power to control women's lives. So they can have the power to say who can vote. So they can have the power to control people's lives. As if they know something. My. So yes, a person who can lay down their life to stand up and tell you the truth, who will not do anything to hurt you except tell you the truth in hopes that it will help you, because it will give you the opportunity to be eligible for the benefits of this life. Why? You come here bringing something. And you have the opportunity to engage yourself in the process of this life by having a job, a career. Doing that which you brought, which gives you your greatest joy. And that power that you can't see, that invisible God that I talk about all the time, is working behind the scenes. We don't see it, and then until the work is done. Because it's all interconnected. And while we're doing what we're doing, we are creating the resources. We're creating it in such an abundance that people who have a desire or need or want can have access to anything that is created by the hands of man, because there's a partnership with God. Human beings got a partnership with God. When you turn that down to walk behind some turkey named Donald Trump, telling you he gonna kill the people that don't like him, and you still walking with him. Come on. You know that ain't you. You know that's something else. You can't even see it. You don't even understand it. You just think it's the thing of the day. Because we brought up that way. Hey, my friends, let me tell you something. Those people who will lay down their lives, they are few. And they carry the world on their shoulders rather than living life heavenly. They are persecuted. You know, you're talking about the church is persecuted. Nah, these are the ones that's persecuted. What church is being persecuted? Just because somebody's saying they're raising a lot of money. That's what you call persecution. It's true. But the mansions that we as people are supposed to have, some people don't have them. They've been robbed. Those mansions and what mansions represent are gone. The access that I was talking about a moment ago to education that would allow you to be better at whatever it is you've chosen to do. You don't have access to that, and the whole world would benefit from it, and yet they want to rob you, rip you off before you can get it, and then set you up against somebody else saying who is better than the other and who can get the job and who can't. And God forbid you got kidney trouble, you got heart trouble, you got prostate trouble, you got colon trouble, you got breast cancer. God forbid that. Ooh, you need insulin. Everybody just want to rob you. Who is anybody trying to kill you? Even the guys on the sidelines who talks about big pharma, you don't have to go with big pharma. We got some over here, you can get it cheaper. It is nothing but still a different, it's the same game. Played at a different level. It reminds me, I'm just going to say this because I want to make you understand what I'm talking about. 17 years old, you probably heard me say this. In high school, summer vacation, living in a big city, coming out of the South, looking in magazines, see advertising. Then I see something that I think would work for me. It has some cream that you can buy, $20. Woo. But you can buy it. And what it does, it makes your hair grow. I never thought about being bald, and I was just a teenager. I never thought about people who I saw bald. I just figured they liked it that way. But here, this cream you can buy. Put it around your face, make hair grow. Rub it across your chest, your hair all on your chest. Few months, you go back to school. Now you got shaved. High school dude shaved, a big dude, big shot now. Hair in his chest. Everybody looking at this young boy like a young man. Oh, now he feels like he's somebody. All of that. And guess what? Not one string of hair grew. See, that's the game that life plays on you because it can. You ask yourself, why would anybody allow something like that to happen publicly and then rob somebody and get away with it? Well, it happens and people get away with it and they continue to do it because they can. Now somebody says, well, I can't make all these laws. You're trying to put everybody in jail. You're doing this shit. No, you do the right thing. You take away a person's need. That motivates a person to cheat. That which motivates a person to steal. You wipe that out. You look for something. Do I want to steal something? Well, I can't find a reason to steal. I can't find a reason to go and abuse this. Why? It's taken care of. I'm satisfied. Goodness. Well, these people, this is where they get its legitimacy from. Now, rather than peace, they are overwhelmed in conflict and dissension. Rather than prosperity, they are living in poverty. Tell this to the prosperity preachers. Rather than freedom, they are in bondage of a system of hate and racism and bigotry, lying and cheating and stealing, terror and war. And eventually, they are killed because they wouldn't conform to the ways of men. They wouldn't conform to the ways of the white man. They wouldn't conform to the ways of the black man. They wouldn't conform to the ways of the conservatives. They wouldn't conform to the ways of the liberals. They wouldn't conform to the ways of the slave masters. And so they were murdered. What does that say? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was said that the rich would find it very difficult to be in heaven. They were talking about some ivory needle, some camel trying to go through. Somebody said that camel got that hook in there. He ain't getting in there. So they're basically trying to say no rich way to get in heaven. And I can see that very easily because being rich like that says that the ways that would bring heaven on earth, you have done everything you possibly can to prevent that. You say, what did I do? I just followed the law. I just did what was legal. Yes, that was your detriment, following that which led you to where you at. A detriment where you can't even get into heaven. And what does that mean? That means that the stuff that you have robbed and amassed right here, we got people over here dying, suffering from, that God has given them, but you got it stacked over here. They got nothing. Living on the streets in a tent in the snow. And you're trying to say they are no good while you, the robber, is somebody above the law. The robber above the law gets away with everything above the law. Nobody else can get away with it above the law. Whew. Well, we all know that the rich and the elite, yet you and I as well, we are without the truth. And since we don't know the truth, we want to be just like those or them that got. Even the worst of us, those who hurt the most of us, we want to be just like the ones that got. This other life that I just got through sharing with you, to most is a dream that they just don't want to entertain at all. But I want to say this to you, ladies and gentlemen. Heavenly living is a choice. Nobody's going to give it to you. I promise you, nobody is going to give it to you. It is a choice. And once making that choice, there are principles that must be followed. You make that choice. Either way, choice is yours. You can't blame anyone. You can't blame the devil. The devil made me do it. You did it. You're going to pay. God protected me. God, you going to get the blessing. Well, I talked 21 minutes, almost 22 minutes. This must be good because you're still listening. But I'm going to turn you loose right now, ladies and gentlemen. And I plan to be back pretty soon with something much more fantastic. Until then, this is Eddie Marcus saying goodbye for now.